covering all 4 major sports in the District of Champions. It's the DC Crossover Podcast with your hosts, Mike Cerrone and Ben Simpson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DC Crossover, episode number 136. I am Ben Simpson. That is Mike Cerrone. And we are at the end of the year here. We got one more episode after tonight. We will be done with 2022. It's been a wild year. I think at the start of this year, we were still part of the Contender family, I think. And then now that doesn't even exist anymore. But hey, now we're part of the DraftKings family as we continue to support our sponsor, DraftKings. So things have changed for the better this year, I would say. And then we got our one more episode coming up here next week, as we mentioned. That is going to be for those who've been stuck with us for a while, we tend to do at the end of the year, we do our Festivus episode where we we air our complaints for the year. So that is going to be a fun one. We'll throw back some Trulies. We'll get some complaints out there and have a good time. That will be on Monday next week. And Mike and I will talk about this more. I'm just kind of spitballing on the podcast, but maybe we even throw that up on YouTube Live. Maybe we do a live show for that one. But then again, I don't know how it works with the alcohol. Like maybe we have to pretend we're not drinking alcohol on YouTube. I don't know how it works. We'll take a look.
Let's Google.
Follow us on Twitter at the DC Crossover and at Cerrone16 and keep up with that. And that's where we'll announce our plans. Because I think it would be fun to kind of do a live thing, see if anybody wants to hop on and give their complaints via chat.
TikTok too. We could do TikTok live too.
That's true. Yeah, we do have a good TikTok following. Follow TikTok at DC Crossover Podcast on the talk. But yeah, that will be next week. So looking forward to that. Before we get there, of course, we have to do tonight's episode, and my partner, Mr. Cerrone's voice is on the fritz, to say the least. So we are gonna give it a go here tonight. I'm gonna carry the load here, and hopefully your voice can last. But I did want to right off the top, we will, of course, be talking Commanders for most of the show. But one of the big news here in the area, and something that I've literally been following for a year and a half, is Raising Cane's coming to Sterling, Virginia. I mean, I was following articles. Mike knows this because I've sent him links after links after link. Like, I was tracking this opening because somebody had found here's the building proposal for the new restaurant. This was like a year and a half ago. So it finally opened last week. It finally opened in Sterling, Virginia. For those, those that listen to the show are mostly DMV people, so maybe you've heard of Raising Cane's. It's mainly down south or in the Midwest. I've had it in Nebraska before. I know there's some in Richmond and Charlottesville and all that. So there are pockets in the country where Cane's is not that big of a deal to them. But for this area, we don't really get that many chains beyond your McDonald's, Wendy's. That's
Chick-fil-A,
really exactly like there's no Whataburgers here or In-N-Out or any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, regional stuff.
Sheets or not Sheets. I was thinking of the one with the drive-in one with the giant window. Sonic. Yeah, Sonic. Yeah. We have one that's like in Manassas now.
Checkers too.
And yeah. So it's like, we don't really get
they're sparse.
The awesome chains. So Raising Cane's coming in was a big
deal.
By
the way, why is Sonic in Manassas? Like, why couldn't it be anywhere else but Manassas? No one ever goes to Manassas.
No. And the only time I get Sonic is when I'm driving down to like Florida on 95. I'll stop and get it in like North Carolina or something. And the best part about Sonic is, you're just sitting there in your car and you order it, and you have the giant menu right there to the left of you. So as soon as you finish your food, why don't you order some more? It's right there. They come and bring it to you. So Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, the originally Louisiana chain, has made its way to Sterling, Virginia. And Mike, I know you got a chance to go. I've gotten a chance to go. First of all, I will say it is still chaos over there. As far as I went on Sunday at like 11. I was like, maybe we'll go a little early. Most people are eating lunch around noon. So I was like, let's go like 11. Maybe it'll be a little more toned down. It was not more toned down. First of all, the drive-through has taken up like the entire parking lot of the like not just the Raising Cane's parking lot, but the parking lot of like the
Best
giant
Buy, yeah.
complex, like with Best Buy and all that sort of stuff. They have cones like coning off certain areas. There's like a traffic cop standing there directing the drive-through. The drive-through is nuts. I ended up going. We parked and went inside because we couldn't even figure out the cone situation. It was like where there's signs all over the place, but you can only drive through certain parts. It was like, this is nuts. So we parked. I went in. Didn't take me too long, maybe 10, 15 minutes to get my food. It was still packed inside too.
Right.
But when we got home, so this was my wife, Abby, this was her first Raising Cane's experience. I've had it maybe 4 or 5 times before. She had never had it. So I was very, very excited for her to try it for the first time. She loved it. I think her ratings were the chicken with the sauce, she gave it a 9 out of 10. I think the fries by themselves, no sauce, like a 5 or a 6, not that special. Obviously, you add the cane sauce in there, it made it like a 7 or an 8. The cane sauce is really what what you come to Raising Cane's for. So I know you had a chance to try it as well. Did you do the drive-through or did you go in? What was your experience?
So the day was Saturday, and again, I apologize for my voice, so I'm hoping it stays put for now.
We'll see if it stays.
This has been like the best my voice has been over the last 2 weeks. So basically, on Saturday, we did the Wreaths Across America over at Quantico.
Okay.
So it was me and my family went over to Quantico, and laid a wreath on my pap's headstone, and then my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, I'll meet you guys, back at the house. I'll pick up some Raising Cane's."
Ooh.
Because my sister's house is right next to the Raising Cane's location. So basically, I had to pop my mic up there a little bit because my level's a little low, my voice. Usually it's a lot higher than this. So basically, my brother-in-law picked it up, and he picked up I don't know, maybe 2 of the meals where it was I don't know what, 5 tenders, 4 tenders, something like that.
Sure.
And the crinkle cuts. And of course, he brought them in, and they were, when I ate them, obviously it's kind of like, when you're sitting down, you're like, all right, nice. I get a whole full meal. I had to savor the 3 tenders that I got.
That's tough if it's in a group setting like that.
And it was kind of weird because we're all trying it and stuff like that because we're typically known for the Chick-fil-A and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I will say the tenders were good, but they were so small. Every single time I see a commercial.
Well, 3 is too small. So you only having 3 is rough. You got to have at least 5 of those suckers.
Well, I wasn't even talking about the quantity. I'm talking about the actual size of it. Because me and you, our favorite place is Woo Boy, and that's just how it is.
I had it today for lunch.
There it is, my man. And I when I went to the Stars game last week, I took my buddy to it. He was like, "Oh yeah, 8.75 out of 10." I was like, "Well, that's a little low."
Yeah. I literally had it. My daughter was sick today, and I was like, you know what? Since I have to take care of her all day, I'm ordering Woo Boy for lunch. That's exactly what I did.
Yes, treat yourself. So. Of course, the Woo Boy tenders. I get those things all the time.
Those things are massive.
They're literally the size of this cup.
Yeah, they're massive,
and they're so good. But these Raising Cane's ones, like I said, every commercial or TikTok video or whatever it may be on Instagram where they're dipping it in it's always that same thing where they're putting their whole hand in a cup of Raising Cane sauce. That tender must have been
right though. The tender
is a turkey leg.
The tender is more on the small side. I will totally agree with you there for sure.
Right, I could eat that tender in one bite.
That's why you need 5 or 6 of those suckers.
Yeah, you need to combine them. And I gave the chicken. I thought it was good. I gave the chicken. I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I had a little more flavor to it. I wish I had more little spice.
Sure.
I'm a spicy guy, and when you're looking at it, I just wanted a little bit more to it. And I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was anything crazy.
Remember, this is still a fast food establishment, right?
Yeah,
so it's
right.
It's definitely not like Woo Boy, like we talked about here. That's in Herndon, Virginia. For those who've never been, you got to go. It's Nashville hot chicken. You got chicken sandwiches, tenders, all that sort of stuff. That's on a different level.
Yeah.
That's more sit down casual. This is Raising Cane's is definitely pure fast food type place. It's not obviously as big of a name brand as McDonald's, but it's that style. There's a drive through. For me, it's if you have a drive through, then you're kind of in the fast food realm. If you have that capability. So I'm with you. Is it the best chicken in the world? Certainly not. But on the fast food scale, it's pretty solid. It's better than a McNugget,
Yeah, let's be honest here. That McNugget is I don't know where that's coming from. But you're looking at it and just saying crinkle cut fries are. I mean, that's like the bottom of the pyramid.
Not
that's
great.
like. Yeah, seriously. And then because you got, there's so many different fries out there that are so much better. You got the curlies from
Did you
Arby's.
get any Texas toast?
I did get some Texas toast.
Yeah,
and
like
I did eat half of one.
You dip that into the cane sauce, and it's unbelievable.
I will say the cane sauce is up there with the
Wingstop Ranch.
Okay.
And
yeah, I mean,
sauce.
I've heard of it. I haven't had a Wingstop Ranch yet, but I'm telling you right now, like the Raising Cane sauce is up there with. I mean, it's up there with the sauce, like Chick-fil-A sauces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If they didn't have that, then it would just be a normal place.
I agree.
That's why people go there if they want the sauce.
No, I completely agree with you. I think the cane sauce is the difference maker with Raising Cane's. If they did not have that signature sauce, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think it would be more of like a lesser experience, but the cane sauce makes a giant difference. It is one of the best sauces I've ever had. I'm telling you, Wingstop Ranch is up there. Chick-fil-A sauce it has to be in the conversation because it's like there's really nothing like it. I mean, I know like like the first time I ever had Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A sauce, it was just mind blowing. You're like, because you're so used to going to restaurants and either getting ketchup or mustard or whatever, like, and Chick-fil-A sauce is its own thing, and it just blows your mind. And so cane sauce to me is kind of like that, where it's a very unique taste. It doesn't really taste like honey mustard or like sriracha mayo or any of that sort of stuff. It's its own thing, and it makes a giant difference. I'm with you. I think that's what ties it all together.
You know, I think now that I'm just thinking about it, now that we have a Raising Cane's, what we should do is rate all of the local now, I guess you could say, chicken establishments where we got Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, even if you want to throw in Bojangles, quote unquote, chicken and biscuits.
Yeah, and that's in Sterling. Yeah,
that's in Sterling. Zaxby's now also.
Zaxby's to me is the poor man's Raising
It
Cane's.
is.
I've been saying that for a long time. Like, think about the Zax sauce versus like the cane sauce.
Well, that's the funny thing. The first time I went to Zaxby's, I looked at the menu and I was so like underwhelmed, even by the pictures. Like, you know how the pictures are sitting there and you look on YouTube and they're putting toothpicks and glue and all this kind of stuff all over the pizza or whatever
to make it look good. Yeah,
to make it look good. I mean, even the pictures at Zaxby's need a little improvement. I mean,
need some help.
But I just think that would be fun. Those top five.
That's a summer.
That's
an off-season segment. I think.
Write it down.
The Chicken Wars. The Chicken Wars, I think, is what we're doing. So yeah. So overall, it sounds like you enjoyed it. I think what will be good is when things settle down there a bit, and it just turns into like a regular restaurant where you don't have to like plan so much to just get over there and deal with giant lines and stuff. I think that will be when you have more normal experience, then I think you'll have a better time. Like, you get the box combo, you sub out the coleslaw for an extra Texas toast, you get extra cane sauce as well, and you get your drink, and you just have a nice little box of chicken.
Coleslaw is so nubs. I want something.
It's very rare for coleslaw to like do it for me. It's got to be the right thing.
Who wants to go to a fast food restaurant and say coleslaw?
Yeah.
Like, come on, give me something different. I mean, when you look at the menu, it's already limited, but I don't want to sit there and say like, oh man, can't wait to have some of this coleslaw on the side of my chicken.
No, that's why you got to
give me something better. I mean, I need mashed potatoes or something.
You get the extra Texas toast, and like that's always the move. So you get 2 big old pieces of Texas toast, dip those into the cane sauce. It does the job. So yeah, I think. I mean, it will probably continue to be packed there until maybe springtime. I don't know. I mean, people are going nuts over there, and now that everyone's like home from school and stuff, I mean, my brother-in-law took a video when he drove by there on like Friday night, and the line of cars was unbelievable. I mean, just so many weaving through there for the drive-through. So we're happy to have it here.
The location is terrible, though, because it used to be the old Chevy Chase Bank.
Right,
and and obviously no one went to Chevy Chase Bank back in the day. And then all of a sudden, that location just sucks because the parking lot for Best Buy and Bed Bath & Beyond and everything over there is so big. Like, you don't need 100 spaces for Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, who's going there these days.
I mean, let's be honest here. So then that parking lot, which is next to Chili's, it's like merging into there. So I didn't even see it yet, and I just know that it's a S storm over there.
I think I mean, it was, like I said, it was a Sunday at like 11. It was already packed. So they open at 10 o'clock. Which is interesting timing because you're like, who's getting chicken fingers at 10 a.m.?
Yeah. Early lunch.
Yeah, early lunch. And I'm an early lunch guy, and like I eat lunch at 11. 10 is early for me, but I think, hey, knowing that, you could pop over there, at 10:30 and be probably fine. I'm interested to see what will happen also when they add it to like Uber Eats and stuff like that, because I've been looking and they still haven't added it there. Understandably so, because I think that would add even more traffic to it, because everyone at their houses, like me, just fat. Fat guy me just ordering food for somebody else to bring it to me.
Right.
I think once they do that, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, seems like it's been a successful first couple weeks. Employees were all super nice, and it was a good experience, I will say.
I will say the last thing I'll mention about this is when I look at Raising Cane's and all these different establishments, like I don't think Chick-fil-A is nationwide. At least I don't think it's like everywhere. I think it's in
everywhere.
I think it's in a lot of
pockets.
states. Yeah, but it's I mean where it is in those. I mean, Jesus, over here they got like 6 Chick-fil-A's within a 2-mile radius.
We're so used to it here,
right?
Chick-fil-A. Like it's weird to hear people not from this area be like, ooh, I want to try Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. Like I've had that experience before because there are certain pockets. Like I think in the New England area, there's certain pockets where Chick-fil-A isn't really a thing there, and they think of it like as a Southern thing. It's like not really.
Right. That's what I'm saying though. Is like think about McDonald's. They just shove McDonald's down your throat because they put one literally on every corner to the point where it's like if you compare Raising Cane's food and Chick-fil-A food and just other places that have decent quality food that aren't on every corner. I mean, I've already seen 2 Burger Kings, the one out on Willard Road that's now supposed to be a Jollibee that's been under construction for 3 years now, apparently. And also the one that's over there by the CarMax on 28.
Right.
They're all the Burger Kings are going out of business because they're not
who's
good.
Eating at Burger King.
Yeah. So it's like you're looking at it and saying, if McDonald's wasn't, I guess you say, quote unquote, there first and shoving it down your throat every corner, I mean, their food quality compared to all these other places that have those little pockets, I mean, it's unbelievable because you think about it and saying, okay, if I'm comparing, I mean, I would much rather go to a Chick-fil-A or much rather go to Raising Cane's. And that's why those places are more expensive than, get 2 McDoubles for $2.
Yeah, where you're not even sure what the meat's made out of. Yeah, no, I think of it as like you got your fast food places and then you got your elevated fast food places, like your Chick-fil-A's, your Raising Cane's. Like
right.
I mean, when I had Whataburger back over in Texas, like that was an unbelievable experience. In-N-Out is apparently like the employees at In-N-Out make like more money than any fast food employees in the country.
Really?
And they get benefits. They're treated really, really well. So they're all super happy. It's crazy. But we could talk about this all episode. Let's hit up the rewind machine. And then I do want to get into your experience at FedEx. And then, of course, the Commanders game. Let's knock this out here. A chance to look back at the previous week in DC sports. I will start with the Washington Nationals. Not a lot of Nats news here. Baseball market in general is pretty intriguing. I know one of the big news today was they delayed the Carlos Correa announcement because they might have uncovered some sort of health issue with him. So we'll see about that. But the Nats obviously are pulling off things like that. The only really news for them, they signed Matt Adams for a minor league deal. They also, this was announced today, it's not on the sheet, they also signed Erasmo Ramirez, who's a reliever who had like a 2.25 ERA. So, that was a decent move there. But yeah, Matt Adams, of course, back in the 2018, 2019 days, big bopper. We'll see what he has. A minor league deal, you're kind of kicking the tires. Washington Capitals had a pretty good week, 2-1 on the week. They are now 16-13-4. Of course, they did actually just beat the Red Wings last night in overtime, so add an OT win as well. They beat Chicago on Tuesday, 7-3. Ovechkin with a hat trick, 800 career goals now. He is within 1 goal of Gordie Howe for second all time, which is why I was looking at Red Wings Caps tickets, and I was like, why are these so expensive? Then I remembered, it's because Ovechkin's right there at the doorstep of Gordie Howe.
Funny thing was Gordie Howe was there too, and the Red Wings are playing.
yeah. Gordie Howe, Van Riemsdyk, and Orlov also scored in that one. They lost to Dallas on Thursday, the game you were at, Mike, 2-1, right? That was the Dallas game? Yeah. Yep. Of course, that's the game they lost the week was when Mike attended.
I have a crazy story about that game too. That's all. We'll save it.
Okay. Connor Sheary, the lone goal in that one. Ovechkin with the assist. Lindgren again continues to do the work as Kemper's hurt. So 24 saves on 26 shots, but tough loss, 2-1. Can't really blame Lindgren there. And then Saturday game beat Toronto 5-2. Career hat trick for Gustafsson. And Samsonov. Yeah. Those Swedes or whatever he is. Our old pal Samsonov allowed 5 goals on 28 shots. And again, as I mentioned, the Caps with a W against the Red Wings last night. For the Wiz kids, I'm not really going to break down these games. It's just been a disaster for this team. They've lost 13 of their last 14, 11 and 20, now 12th in the Eastern Conference. They cannot win a game. It's time to blow this thing up. It's time to do what, I mean, maybe not blow it up as far as like, I'm not saying like go trade KP or anything, but any assets like Denny and some of these other guys where you think like, hey, maybe we can get something for them, trade them. At this point, it's like, this is not working. Or just tank. I mean, if you want to tank. Try to get Wembanyama. We'll see. Let's move in to the football talk here as I get our old pal, or not Doug Williams, but
I will say though, real quick. No,
yeah,
that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, well, no. Well, you can talk.
So I will say that when you're looking at the Wizards, and I'm not going to go deep into this, obviously, I think what you just said, and obviously we're not going to talk about them right now, or this episode, but
right.
I think an early grievance is if Tommy Shepard doesn't realize that this team isn't cut out when people are getting injured. I mean, we did have that nice 4 or 5 game stretch without Bradley Beal, but you're looking at it and saying that this team isn't cut out to hang around and win these tight games right now with not superstar power. We have stars. You know, I would say Kuzma's pretty much a star for the most part with his numbers.
Too. He wants to be traded, so let's trade him.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have KP, who is not a superstar anymore when he was with the Knicks, but he's a star, I would say, with his numbers as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's, you know, when you say superstar, star, all that kind of stuff, it's your own interpretation. But you're looking at it and saying he needs to go out there, and if there's any interest, like you said, for these guys, and you can get a first round pick. I don't care if it's the 20th pick in the draft. You got to go get something because these guys are just getting older. They're going to want to get paid, and then you're going to release them. So when I think you're looking at this whole entire situation, you got to go out there and try to get some assets for these guys because 13 of 14. I mean, the better teams at least can break a 13 of 14 streak. You can't go out there and lose 13 of 14. Maybe 5 max, but you can't go out there and lose, you know, in double digits. That's just bad.
It's been really, really rough. Like you said, there's been some injuries and things like that, but they just can't get it done. And yeah, the rumor is Kyle Kuzma wants out. And at this point, yeah, might as well. I mean, I love watching him play. I think he brings a cool dynamic to this team. But if he wants out and you can go get some assets for him, yeah, I'm sure as hell fine with that. We're talking Commanders here as they lost to the Giants 12-20 in a rough one on Sunday Night Football, which is probably partially why your voice is the way it is. I know it's been going for weeks, so it's not like the only reason for it, but Mike did attend this game at FedEx Field, and I'm trying to think. I know this was your first game this season there, right? Is this the first game in a few years now at this point?
I think, honestly, now that you're saying it, I don't think I've been to a game
since the pandemic, right?
No, it was since they were named the Redskins.
Oh, right.
Which, however long that was ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I mean, you made your return, and the way to do it is how you did it, as far as like the where you ended up sitting.
Oh yeah, I got. So long story short, a buddy of mine, he is a co-owner of a contracting company. And if he pays me, maybe we'll shout it out.
Right. Oh, yeah, no free ads.
Yeah, no free ads.
Even though we talked about Raising Cane's for 25 minutes.
But so he ended up going out there and for a holiday party, ended up buying a suite and all this kind of stuff. So it was nice. And I got invited, which is funny because he only had 27 tickets and he has, that many employees. So you
took somebody's spot?
Well, it was a long story. I kind of forced myself to take somebody's spot, but they had a few cancellations. But anyways, so the suite was nice. It was nice. I mean, I stood my ground and I took my seat just like I do every Super Bowl at someone's house. I pick a seat, I sit, and I don't get up.
Always a move.
It was great. It was a good view. It was nice. I mean, I would prefer not to be in the end zone because where we were sitting, it was kind of hard to see if there's first downs or not.
Right.
But you're looking at it, it was good. I mean, it was.
Plus you have the TVs in the suite in case like there's replays and stuff like that you need to see. Like that's always nice.
Yeah, the best part about the whole entire suite thing was, which you would love, is that outside of the area of the suites, because we were on like the corner of the stadium, they had like I think 4, I think it was buffet trays that you
Ooh,
just go through, and it was so
like that.
let me get your rating on these foods. So I don't know if it was like chicken piccata or something like that, but
Okay.
it was a chicken breast that was in sauce, stuff like that, which was really
Okay.
good.
Always a solid like 5 or 6. Like,
Yep.
it does the job. Does the
Yep.
job.
NA and meatballs.
Classic.
Oh,
That's probably
classic.
that's trending towards like a 7, seven and a
Yep.
half. Yeah.
And there was no garbage peppers in it and stuff like
Okay,
that, which
good.
so
Yeah.
that
Or
was great.
mushrooms and stuff
No,
like that.
it
Oh,
was just
good.
the reg. And then the next one was green beans. No,
Okay. Nubs.
pass,
Yeah.
pass. Yep, nubs. And then all you can eat hot dogs
Yes.
with chili and cheese.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Now look, some people out there might be snobs. They
Yep.
might knock the hot dog. I'll tell you what, there is nothing. Not nothing. There are a few things better than just a solid hot dog and
Yep.
you throw some good toppings on there. I mean, chili and cheese for sure is always a good addition there.
One
Oh
of the
man, I
buffet
love it.
things was 2 tubs. It wasn't tubs. It was like the actual buffet trays,
Right.
just full of nacho cheese and full of chili.
Oh,
And you know what I did? I
wanna
got that
bathe in
nacho
that.
cheese and I literally poured it on everything.
Yeah, that's what it's there for. No, I love that. I love it.
I had
Honestly, like
cheese and chicken.
you're at the game. You're at the game. You got to grab some dogs and some cheese. That's what you got
Oh
to do
man.
there. No, I love to hear that. Do they
Yeah.
have any like? I know sometimes with the sweets they'll have like little snacky stuff like some popcorn or stuff like that you can just
Yep.
grab too.
So they had on certain spots, they had like bags of chips and stuff like that you could
Okay.
grab.
Gotcha.
And then once the second half was about to start, they had cookies and brownies, I believe, out there.
Ooh.
So that was good
What was
too.
the drink situation?
I had cheese and brownie. It is. I'm sorry, I just added. So my buddy actually forked over the extra 1,000, and he got like I
Nice.
think like 100 beers in the
Oh,
suite,
love it. Love it.
with along with soft drinks and stuff like that. So every time that I would get up, so my other buddy, he actually conned his way into getting in there too. And
Smart man.
us three have grown up since middle school. You know who they are.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah.
so me and Kevin ended up every time we got up, we would get 2 beers, and I would just put them by my seat. We had like 6 beers just sitting there, and because it was so cold outside, we did have a heater that was kind of up above, but so it was like it made the temperature like 50 degrees, which was actually really nice because
Yeah.
outside it was like 10. But you're thinking about it, we had a stack of beers just sitting right there, and then my buddy's sister-in-law said, "Mike, are all those yours?" And I was like, "You got a problem with it?" like I'm not letting this guy over here have it. This Joe Schmo over
I mean,
here.
what you guys are there. He paid the money. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get your money's worth. I mean,
Oh yeah, trust me.
that's the way to do it.
I got the most money's worth out of anybody.
Nice. I love the people that like would come to this like the stumble upon the podcast and go, oh, a DC sports podcast, and then we've spent the first half hour talking about Raising Cane's and then the food in the suite of the
Yep.
game, not the actual game. But that's what you get here on the DC Crossover podcast.
I would say with the food and the beer. I mean, I'll discount the beer because some people didn't pay for it, obviously. But just the food, that experience, despite the sweet, the food experience, just the free food was, I mean, at least a 7.5. Because like you said, the chicken wasn't great, but I doused it in nacho cheese.
And you'll take it
so
because it's free.
Softened it
too,
up.
Like you'll take that. And then my last question, and then we'll move on to the actual game, was what was your driving situation? Did you carpool with somebody else or like?
So the suite had 7 parking passes or 8 parking passes, something like that.
Okay.
The tailgating scene was weak. Now I don't think these people are really used. I mean, technically, I know a lot of the people that are at that company because I work also, as you know, on the side with them.
Right.
But I mean, they're just not used to being on time. Like whenever we host like a poker night or something like that, everyone's like a 45 minutes late or an hour late. And I'm sitting there just like twiddling my thumbs saying like, yo, it's supposed to be 8 o'clock here. And everyone shows up at like 8:27. I'm like, what is everyone doing here? So like, literally, I mean, we almost got in a 7-car pileup on the highway because of one of the caravanners, which they don't know what a caravan means apparently, because one guy's zigzagging through traffic. We're like, dude, what are you doing, man?
That's not how a caravan works.
It was just it was terrible. But my buddy
did
drove.
you have to drive?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank God. All right,
I made sure of that. So I was, had a couple road sodas.
Oh, well, that too, yeah.
In the back of the truck. But it was nice. So we ended up parking, and it was so cold. Luckily, they let us in the suite like an hour and a half early or something like that.
Ooh.
So I was nomming on food and pregame. I mean, I had like half an hour left, and I was sitting there nomming on chicken cheese.
That's the best
Yeah.
because you wouldn't like a situation where you're suddenly having to stuff your face and the game's like about to kick off and you're like,
Yep.
oh crap, like everything's about to happen. Like, yeah, you want to be able to relax. That's why I mean I like getting to games early like that, regardless whether I'm in a suite or not, because I like to have some of my food and relax and stuff like that. And then
I will
like, by the
say,
time the game starts, you know,
when we're entering, obviously I've never been in this entrance before because it's only suites only.
right?
And our good old friend Doug Williams was out there.
Yeah,
You saw that pick, and
I did.
well, when I'm walking in, I'm like, first of all, it was
What was the initial reaction?
Well, the reaction was, I'm gonna hug the Commanders, because that's what we are, and we got to go forward with it. And I do like the name. It got a good sound to it, Washington Commanders. So here we go.
great.
Williams.
There he
we
was.
go.
Now, granted, Gary Clark was there too.
Yeah, I saw
And
pics.
Gary was like, "Hey, buddy, I want you to stand next to big old Doug." And I said, "All right." And Doug never said a word to me. He just like kind of like
He
mumbled
didn't try and
something.
give you a hug.
No, he didn't hug the Commanders. Yeah, it was kind of weird because I was sitting there and I told my other buddy Kevin, I was like, "Hey, you want to get?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll get in there with you." And then I'm sitting there and like I'm like in the middle of two like Hall of Famers for the Redskins, and like Kevin's over here in the corner, and I'm sitting there like Doug Williams is. I don't know if we took 4 pictures, like some random person took 4 pictures, and like 2 of them like Doug looks like he's half asleep, and
Well,
I'm
he probably was.
It was an odd photo because Gary was nice. He was coherent. Doug, I don't think Doug knew where he was though.
No, he's still thinking about hugging the Commanders for sure. But you did. So it sounds like to me that sounds like an ideal. Like you said, it wasn't a 10 experience, but it was solid. You had a great night. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that because, especially if you're going to trek all the way out there on a very cold Sunday night.
Right.
I
got lucky.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So, the unlucky part of this all is how this game ended up, of course, as the Commanders lose in this one. And a lot of weird play. We're not going to break down the entire game here, but there were obviously different moments in this one.
What do we break down? There's not a lot of game to break down.
Right. And there's like specific moments that happen in this one that really stick out when you're looking at the game as a whole. Things like the Thibodeau, the recovery of the fumble and the 1-yard touchdown. I mean, that guy had a monster game, Kayvon Thibodeau. And then you had the offensive pass interference penalty on the Commanders, the pick play where it got called. And, I know you were at the game, so you weren't hearing, but like Chris Collinsworth was almost berating the officials on the call. He was like, how is that? And even when they brought on, I forget which ref they brought on to like explain the call on the broadcast, like the former ref or whatever thing. And like,
I think it was Mike Pereira, probably.
It wasn't Pereira, actually. It was a different guy. That's why, because it's usually Mike, but it was somebody else, and it wasn't the other guy that you see all the time too. And but Collinsworth, even with him, and I don't have the sound. I'll play it next week or something. But even with him, he was like, like kind of talking his ass a little bit, saying like, that's not a pass interference. He's like the guys collided. I mean, the contact happened. Just a guy running a normal route. That's not a pick play. It's not offensive pass interference. Anyways, that was a tough one. You had the 4th and 9 play where the Giants get an 11-yard completion, which eventually turned into a Barkley touchdown after a few plays later. If they didn't convert that, that would have been a different story. On the good side of things, you had the Commanders, the 6-play 91-yard touchdown drive to Dotson. That was the biggest drive of the game, probably for the team. You had the Heineke fumble after the sack. He had a couple fumbles in this one. And then you had, of course, 2 of the biggest plays in the game was the illegal formation penalty on Terry McLaurin, which is still being talked about today on Twitter. And then you have the missed pass interference call as well to end the game, which happened. I mean, I'm not as upset. I mean, look, like, was it pass interference? Yes, of course it was. I think on the final plays of the game, that type of situation, I think we see officials let contact go all the time, unfortunately. Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing because it's very frustrating, but I've seen them screw that up so many times where they're, like, afraid to whistle a big play like that. The more egregious to me is the illegal formation, and obviously everyone kind of is agreeing on that front. But any of these moments in particular you want to talk about or spend some time on?
I mean, honestly, when you're looking at I mean, it's just tough. It's tough because you're looking at this entire game, and I mean, the biggest thing about this game was the fumbles. I mean, we had a Giants fan in our suite, and on the second fumble, I literally was like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't fumble twice."
Yeah.
The quarterback should never fumble more than once. You fumble once, okay, maybe it's a blind
happens.
side or something that happens.
Right.
You can't fumble twice, lose both of them, and then cost 7 points on one of the fumbles.
Yeah.
Like when you're on the 5-yard line or whatever it was when they got the first touchdown, you have to be aware that you can't hold the ball for 7 seconds, especially because you don't have a Trent Williams on the left side covering your blind side. So you have to be aware of that kind of stuff. Keep your head on a swivel. And the Giants fan was like, well, he didn't see it coming. And I said, first of all, why are you defending Taylor Heineke? That's number one.
Yeah.
Your team just scored, whatever. And second of all, okay, you didn't see it coming. I understand that, but you didn't see it coming twice. It cost us 2 possessions, and it cost us 7 points immediately.
Even Ron Rivera came out, I think, today or yesterday saying, like, hey, Heineke held the ball too long there. Like, we can't have that. Like, even his own coach was saying that he can't do that.
I mean, it's just bad because, again, it's not let me compare Carson Wentz to Taylor Heineke every single 2 seconds. But everyone rips Carson Wentz for holding the ball too long or doing this, doing that. This game was a basically win and you're in almost game. It was literally on that fringe of winning and being up to like close to a 90% chance because we had the tiebreaker over the Giants, might I add. So you're looking at it and saying, okay, we had the tiebreaker. If you win at home on Sunday Night Football, okay, great. That's awesome. But he just had so many plays. I don't even want to look at his like yardage and the touchdown or whatever. I don't want to see that stuff. But he had so many plays that were just so negative. Yeah. I mean, you have the 2 fumbles. You have, I mean, this is one of the most, and I even retweeted it, the most egregious quarterback run I think I've ever seen in my life. He ran for 20 yards. He needed to get 21 yards to get in the end zone.
Right.
He has Jahan Dotson sitting right there, right in front of him, running towards the end zone for a lead blocker. And then you had one defender, and he ran. I don't know if he was still hyped up on that Tampa Bay pylon and he wanted to recreate it in the time. I'm sure that sounds pretty ridiculous for me to say, but he literally ran towards the pylon when all he needed to do was take one step inside.
Yeah, it makes one move, and he's in.
Yeah,
like
one
move.
It wasn't even. It's not like he didn't have the juke. Just run left.
Right,
you ran right towards the defender that was coming towards the pylon.
Not only did he run towards the defender, but then he like curled his body in where there was no chance of him getting to the pylon inbound. Like it just wasn't even going to happen because of how he contorted his body. I don't know if he was just trying to protect himself or what, but I completely agree with you. Where that play, you have him throwing behind guys, you have him throwing short to guys. There was the Curtis Samuel catch along the far sideline where if
that blew up on Twitter too.
If he drops that ball ahead of Curtis Samuel, that's a touchdown. And instead, Curtis Samuel has to wait for it to come down, and then he gets tackled after he catches it. This was not Taylor Heineke fans can't really say much about this one, Mike. I don't think they really can defend this guy that much after this game. I mean, he had one really nice pass to Dotson. Besides the touchdown, he had like one really the long play where it was more Dotson making a play than Heineke. Heineke just kind of threw it up there and go make a play, and Dotson did, which was really impressive to see. I mean, Dotson really impressed me in this one. I mean, he's had flashes this year, but like this was probably his best game of the year, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, everyone knew when he was coming out of college, he had great hands and all that stuff. And of course, he didn't drop a ball in like, I don't know, 20 years or whatever it was for growing up. And then all of a sudden, like his like second game, he ends up dropping a ball in the NFL. But you're just looking at it and saying that Dotson is going to be a stud. But that's my point, is that you have Curtis Samuel fully healthy. He even came out, I think it was either before the game or after the game, saying he feels the best he has in like 3 years, probably because last year all basically did was rehab. I mean, you're looking at Terry McLaurin still going out there, putting up numbers, catching in double coverage. And then you're seeing John Dotson go out there, be that number 3 guy and go and yeah, maybe he doesn't get a ton of catches, but he's getting a ton of yards. I mean, he had the first 2 games of the season, he had 3 touchdowns. He had a touchdown in this game for over 100 yards. I mean, you're just looking at it and saying this guy's going to be a great slot receiver. But going along with that, I just don't understand how we have these many weapons, and you have the tandem with Robinson going out there running for 90 yards or whatever it was, and then Gibson, who actually is the third highest receiving before this game started, third highest receiving player on this team.
Yeah.
And you have Taylor Heineke going out there, and now I think people are starting to understand that we're winning in spite of him. And I think
The tide has turned.
The tide has turned
It
because
really has.
you're looking at Twitter. You're looking at Twitter right here. And before it was like, oh man, well, what's his record? What that's a Heineke magic, like all these different terms, right?
He's a locker room guy. He's a locker room guy.
Yeah, everyone, we were pumped up. Like, okay, we're pumped up, but you're looking at the last 5 games. The last 5 games, he's gotten sacked literally 11 times. 11 times. And Carson Wentz got sacked 9 times in one game. Yeah, I understand that. It was the Eagles, so it's a little bit different. But you're looking at it and saying, I mean, Taylor Heineke's gotten sacked plenty of times, but everyone, that was the knock because, Carson Wentz getting sacked all the time. And now Taylor Heineke, he can move around a little bit. Okay. He got sacked 11 times in the last 5 games. So he's getting sacked at least twice a game by that math, 2 in a quarter or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And then he's not putting up points. He got 12 points this last game in a huge game at home on Sunday Night Football, prime time, lights all shining, it's a packed house for the most part. It was a lot of Giants fans, I will say that. But then you have the other game where he had a chance to win it in overtime, didn't win it through 41 passes. And then the 2 games prior to that, he didn't even eclipse 200 yards. And then one of those was against Atlanta. Atlanta sucks. And you're looking, he threw 138 yards against Atlanta. And you're just seeing it like saying, how many times is this guy going to go out there? And yes, I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The crowd got electric when he came out of the smoke, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, tell that. Like they were going nuts. And I'm sure their voice sounds like mine right now because everyone loved seeing Taylor go out there. And yeah, maybe it's a Heineke magic and just the vibe and with all the players and everything like that. But you have to understand that, like you said, the tide has changed here. The tide has turned to the point where I think everyone's seen that last year when he was 7-9, and this year when whatever the record is now, there's a tie in there, all kind of stuff, whatever the record is now, because he has 2 losses. I mean, he can't go out there and win you the game.
No,
like you're seeing Carson Wentz go out there, and again, I'm not sitting here pro Carson Wentz, go Carson. Okay, you're seeing Carson Wentz go out there against the Jags, who again the Jags have been stellar the last 3 games. Trevor Lawrence is playing awesome, so they're not a pushover, just like your Lions aren't. Yeah. So you're looking at it and saying, everyone said, oh, the Jags suck. Well, the Jags just beat the Cowboys, so they're not a terrible team. They scored over 40 against them. So you're looking at the Jag game where he came out and he won it on the last drive, throwing dimes left and right, all that kind of stuff. But Taylor Heineke, I mean, he's winning games scoring under 22 points a game. I mean, that's terrible. You can't go out there and do that. And obviously, if people want to say, well, the receivers have to catch the ball and stuff. Well, if they win, everyone, gives Taylor the win. But if they lose, it's not Taylor's fault. They had a bad, the refs suck. Okay, it's like okay, I understand there's bad calls, but you can't sit there and give Taylor Heineke all these free passes, and that's why you're seeing time and time again now, all on the internet, all on Twitter, all on social media, people saying, "Man, I really think Carson Wentz is going to start here." Even local radio hosts. I mean, it's like 1 loss in the last 5 games, or however many it is. And people are saying, oh, Carson Wentz might have to start here because they're seeing the deficiencies in the stats. Numbers don't lie. Everyone wants to bypass the numbers, but then you're looking at the numbers now, and he doesn't have the numbers at all. He hasn't eclipsed 300 yards once in the last 5 games. I'm only looking at the last 5, but you're looking at he's getting sacked more. I mean, his QBR is terrible. I mean, you're just looking at certain aspects of the game. And yes, okay, I get it. I'm excited when he's out there because it's fun to watch. It's entertaining, but this is not an entertainment business. This is a gambling business. Like everyone wants to go out there and gamble and make sure that you make the right moves when you're playing chess against the other team. You don't just go out there and say, all right, we're watching a movie here. Like it's not Rudy. It's not Rudy. I'm sorry. This is not the movie Rudy. No, I understand. Everyone likes Taylor Heineke, like the underdog story, but Rudy only played 2 plays. He played a special teams play, and that 1 play he's got a sack. I don't even know if that's true. They say it's true. I don't even know if Rudy's true. Okay, whatever happens, I just think that Taylor Heineke really needs to, get the flack that everyone else gives other quarterbacks, rather than just everyone making excuses for him, especially now.
They do, and I do agree. I think, from what I'm seeing, I think it is turning to Wentz. I think that seems to be where what the fans want at this point, because I think they're realizing that Heineke's only going to get you so far, and that if you guys really want to climb that hill and be a legit contender in this league, you can't do it with Taylor Heineke. You got to have, I mean, for now at least, Wentz. Hopefully, someone even better in the future. I mean, who knows? But you're not going to be able to get it done with Heineke. And this loss, is not just because of the bad calls that we've talked about. The missed pass interference. Obviously, the Terry play was huge. So many people have already talked about it. There's really not much more to say. It's just it was BS. I mean, it was stupid. We all know that, but that wasn't 2 fumbles in the game. That wasn't. There was a Taylor Heineke signature almost interception. I feel like he gets one of those a game. He threw it.
Yeah, right.
I think to the DB like in the end zone or something. And the guy dropped it, and it's like that he would have had 2 fumbles and a pick on his resume for the game, and he just missed having that. But yeah, it is. If this team really,
the defense held the Giants at 13 points. Yeah. That is good enough to win. If you can't score 2 touchdowns in your own building. With 3
it's
healthy
pathetic.
receivers, I mean, it was just, and I don't know if you want to call it the coaches or whatever, but you have to go out there and honestly look at the situation and say, we got like 3-4 games left where we had to play the Niners, who right now they're 7-point favorites. I mean, they wouldn't be 7-point favorites if we would have won that game. I'll tell you that. They would have literally been maybe 4-3, something like that.
But you're on their 3rd QB of the year.
I mean, it's like, their 3rd QB of the year, and they're still kicking everyone's butt. And then no Debo, it's like, it's just, oh my gosh,
crazy.
man.
But now, and then before we wrap up this part, I mean, now the big thing is the playoff positioning and kind of where this team sits, because as you mentioned, I mean, the Seahawks are still in the mix, the Lions are in the mix, and the Commanders really did not help themselves out. So this Sunday, the Lions play Carolina, and then the Commanders play the 49ers. The Niners game's at 4, the Lions is at 1. It's conceivable that the Lions beat Carolina, and they'll actually have dropped Washington out of their spot by the time they kick off at 4 o'clock. I mean, that's really because the Lions have the tiebreaker over the Commanders. So this is crunch time. I mean, this is why we love sports. It's when seasons come down to the wire, and I think for the Lions to make the playoffs, they kind of needed either to win three of 4 of their final 4 games, or win all 4, obviously, and then they needed the Commanders or the Giants or one of those types of teams to only win 2 of their final 4. And like that's kind of where this is setting up now, because the Commanders have a real tough test here on Sunday against the 49ers. And this is crazy. I mean, look, I love the Lions. They're my original team. It would be unbelievable if they kick the Commanders out of the playoffs because they take their spot. Like that would never in a million years be what I thought would have happened this season. It's crazy.
I mean, you're just looking at the playoff picture right now. Obviously, Eagles, Vikings, Niners, and Cowboys all have clinched. The Bucks right now are in a fight for the division, so you don't have to worry about them. But now the Giants have the tiebreaker over us because it's head-to-head. And we had the tiebreaker over them for a divisional record. But, of course, we let up that game this past weekend. But you're looking at it and saying, the Seahawks, they're kind of all over the place right now. You never know what you're going to get with them. The Lions, they're on a hot streak, so we'll have to see what you get with them. They're going to have a tough test this weekend too, but because they're playing the Seahawks, right? They're playing the Seahawks, right?
No, the Lions are playing the Panthers.
Panthers. Okay, sorry. I thought I saw it earlier.
Lions finish up with Panthers, Bears, and Packers to end the year, which is pretty favorable.
Packers going to be a huge game.
That Packers game it's going to come down to that. I mean, it's going to be
because I think the only thing you can look at is that the Commanders right now have the Cowboys. The Cowboys are already in the playoffs. So if you think about 3 weeks from now, whenever they play the Cowboys, or whatever, or 4 weeks from now, I think it is. I forgot exactly what. There's so many damn games. I don't remember.
I know.
But 3 or 4 weeks from now, they play the Cowboys. The Cowboys are probably going to rest their starters at that point because they're already committed. And at that point, they're probably already going to be either in the playoffs as the number 1 seed, or not the number 1 seed, or the division winner, or whatever it is. But you're looking at it and saying, really, the Cowboys game is going to be tough because, we have to win that game no matter what. The Niners game, who knows what's going to happen in that one, because obviously the Niners are clinched to be in the playoffs. But if you look at it that way, I mean, who knows if they're going to rest some people or whatever, because they're always injury prone. But then the Browns game is a must win now. You have to beat the damn Browns.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those situations where it's like, that game was could have
You
cost
needed
you your
that game.
season. You needed that game.
As
Yep.
simple as that. You needed that one. You control your destiny. That was the game you had to take. The Giants are not that good of a football team, man. I mean, you watch that game, and yeah, they have some solid players here and there, but overall, this is not a good football team, and so it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to lose that one. So yeah, game against the Niners on the 24th on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
I guess that's so Saturday. The game's on Saturday at 4:05 p.m. I love the Saturday football too, by the way. I mean, I know like obviously we're used to that for college football, but I love having the NFL Saturday games too. I mean, that was so nice.
I like the
this past
4:05 start too. That's going to be nice.
Yeah, 4:05 is going to be sweet, leading right into dinner
I'm
time.
going to do a nice little in swoop at my aunt's house and then swoop right out.
There you go. No, I love the 4:05 as well. We'll see what happens there. We'll just do final lap, and then we're gonna do our money line and call it a night. I don't want you to completely lose your voice here. Let's hit up the final lap. Chance to talk about some bigger stories in sports beyond just DC teams. We will start with, of course, the lateral that went around the world here. This Raiders-Patriots lateral miscue was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
I just don't understand how Bill Belichick could have allowed that. I mean, you have to understand, like, go to overtime, take your chances. I mean, the Raiders, I don't even know. It just made no sense.
It made no sense. Mike's favorite college quarterback, Bo Nix, will be returning to Oregon next season. He will not be headed to the draft.
Well, I mean, is there really a point? If he has another year of eligibility, why would you not return to Oregon right now? Because all you have is Bryce Young coming out. You have a ton of other quarterbacks that are in the draft. I mean, Hendon Hooker. Of course, I'm going all blank right now. But it's like they have at least 5 quarterbacks that are in the draft right now that are in the mix with him. And he's kind of not on the upper tier of the top 3. So you might as well return and improve that draft stock, because this year he definitely did.
Jokic, adding to his resume, he had a 40-point and 27-rebound game, as well as 10 and plus assists. He's the third player in NBA history with 40 points, 25 boards, 10 assists, joins Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor. Not a bad group to be a part of.
Well, I was hoping that with Wes Unseld Jr. coming here, he's a really big fan of Jokic, and Jokic is a really big fan of him. I was hoping that maybe Jokic, when he becomes a free agent, he'll come here, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
No, I don't think so. Nobody's ever coming here. And then, of course, we had to talk about one of the World Cup final, of course. Some people are saying, the greatest sporting event they've ever seen. It's like, look, like, was it an incredible game? Sure. But I don't know if it's like the greatest sporting event ever. I think that's just more of like people just getting caught up in the moment. But it was fantastic, obviously. The funny part with that one was, of course, what I was texting with you so I had bet Argentina money line, and then for kicks, I threw in a separate bet for correct score. And I picked 2-1 Argentina. It was like $5 bet to win like 50. So it was like, yeah, I'll do that. And of course, at one point in the game, it was 2-1 Argentina, and there was like 10 minutes left. And I was like, all right, I should I cash this out or should I just let it go? Because I think if I cash it out, it was going to be like $24 or something. And you and I have said it in the past. It's like, anytime you get that opportunity to cash out, you might want to take it because weird things happen in sports. And just as I was making that decision, Mbappe, of course, scored.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, man, like that was tough. That was tough because literally, it happened within the minute of, when it was a 2-1 score. So I didn't even have much of a chance to decide. But, crazy game. Goes to PKs. Always a weird way for a game to end, but it was an exciting thing as well. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, soccer fans are so used to PKs at this point. It's not that big of a deal as far as like it being how some games are decided. But to me, even as a fan of the sport, it's still just is kind of strange, after watching the game progress in its normal way for the entirety of the game and then have it come down to this shootout. It's just different. It's just a different feeling at the end of the win,
Yeah, obviously, when I was looking at my bet, I had France money line over 6 corners and both teams to score. and it wasn't that big of a payout. It was like $5 to win like 78 or something like that.
Right.
And obviously I mean, when France didn't score in the last 7 minutes when they were just peppering, shots on it, it was like whatever. It was a great game though. I enjoyed watching it, but like you said, the art of the cash out is the biggest dilemma in sports gambling because, like you said, you want to get that $107 win or whatever rather than cashing out for 42. Because once you get that $107 win, you're like, yes, I had the balls to hold the door like Hodor, and of course I, whenever I see that, I always do the wrong thing. And I had a college basketball one like 3 weeks ago where I'm sitting there. It was like some bodunk school in Oregon or something like that, like Portland University or something like that. I had literally winning outright, and they ended up screwing me or something of that nature. And I had a cash out for like it was like $13 less than my win,
Right.
but the game was so far in hand, and then all of a sudden they ended up losing. Now it was such
That's
a
the thing.
buzzkill.
I think it's just like
Hate that.
you gotta now. Obviously, if the cash out's like on $1 more than what your bet was, then it's like, all right, no, of course, like I'm gonna see what
Right.
happens. But yeah, I think in the if that situation ever arose again where I have the chance to make like $20 off my initial bet,
Yep.
and yeah, it wasn't the 50, but it's $20, and
It's a
in
positive
soccer,
either way.
in soccer
Positive either way.
especially, where like crazy things can happen at the end of the game when they they pull the goalie in a way where he comes up to try. I mean, that sort of stuff happens in soccer, and so like. Yeah, I should have done it, but I just didn't even have a chance to even process the decision. But regardless, obviously crazy finish there in the World Cup, and I think in general this World Cup kind of lived up to the hype. I mean, there were some great moments. Obviously, here Team USA did their job and got past the knockout, got past the group stage into the knockout stage. Like that was what they needed to do. You had obviously a legend like Messi winning the title. You've got a young gun in Mbappe like doing his thing. So like. Yeah, I think this World Cup was pretty solid in my eyes. I think like people seem to enjoy it. I think it got a lot of attention, and I think it helped the sport. So yeah, I think this overall was a pretty darn good World Cup. Sucks that we have to wait again for it.
Yep.
So,
now we gotta watch bowl games that don't matter.
yeah, exactly. Let's hit up the money line, of course, sponsored by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. The wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is officially live in the state of Maryland. Now you can legally bet on all your favorite sports with DraftKings anytime and anywhere right over there in Maryland. For a limited time, new customers who sign up with promo code DC Crossover will receive $200 in free bets instantly. Of course, some big games coming up in the NFL in the final stretch here, so you definitely want to use that offer. I mean, $200 in free bets is trust me, that can go a long way. DraftKings has the best features, including same-game parlays, unlimited player props, and more with fast and easy payouts right at your fingertips. DraftKings Sportsbook is where Mike and I go for all of our sports betting needs. Here's what you do. It's simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DC Crossover to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code DC Crossover. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 years or older, physically present in Maryland. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. See DraftKings.com/MD for full terms and conditions. Again, it is promo code DC Crossover. I mean, $200 in free bets is big time. I mean, Mike and I talk about all the time the parlays we do and things like that. I mean, I usually drop $5 on a parlay. I mean, think about $200 worth of parlays. I mean, that can get you somewhere. I'll tell you what. I had sent to Mike. I had hit a nice parlay this weekend. I was happy about it. I think it won $60 or so. So
I followed it. Yep.
Yeah, so that's helped me out. Lately now, the last couple ones I've lost by like a leg. I just opted in there. There's like a TNT Tuesday night thing where it was like place a 3+ leg parlay, and if it loses, you get your refunded bet. So a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, love the no sweats for sure. So this is the money line. We're gonna give our picks here. My lock. I'm gonna ride my Lions at. Right now, 3-point favorites over Carolina. One of the few times the Lions are favorite. Obviously, it was surprising when they were a favorite over Minnesota, and that proved to be accurate. I'm going to ride Vegas and the odds makers and this hot team there with Lions 3-point faves. My dog, this is almost probably going to be a pick 'em at some point, but I'm going Jags over Jets on Thursday Night Football. You mentioned earlier Trevor Lawrence being hot. I just saw that you did that pick too.
I just realized it.
I didn't. I actually, again, I did not actually make that pick knowing
I'm
that
not gonna
Mike was
lie.
going to take the same thing.
I think you picked it first. I didn't even see yours.
Well, smart man. Yeah, the Jags are hot. The Jets are the Jets. I think this is the right pick here, and I love getting them at +1. I'll take that all day.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of funny. Honestly, I literally heard you start. I was like looking down, and all of a sudden, I heard you start saying about the Jags, and I was like, "Wait a second, I picked that." But hey, it's a good one. It's a good pick, obviously. So I'm gonna go with my dogs first. Obviously, the Jags +1 over the Jets. The Jets still playing Zach Wilson, I believe, and Zach Wilson's a bust. Obviously, he's a jerk, and everyone doesn't like him. So let's be honest here.
Right.
And Trevor Lawrence is playing out of his mind the last few weeks. And also, the Jags are 3-1 against the spread in the last 3 games, or excuse me, in the last 4 games.
Right.
So that's huge as well. My lock, you know what? If Taylor Heineke starts, I'm going with San Fran -7 over Washington.
Go ahead.
I mean, I don't like the 7, so I would like to go down to like 6.5 or something like that. I'm always the guy that's kind of skeptical. Like when it's a 7 or something of that nature, I like to go and make it a 2.5 just because.
Yeah, you don't want to get screwed.
Just because, but I don't want to make it a money line where it's like a -400. I would rather do it like -250.
You don't want the push. If it's 7, you don't want the push.
Right.
You want the 6.5. No, I agree with you on that.
But I'm only going to take that bet. Now, obviously, it's my lock of the week, so I have to take it in this parlay or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to say right now that, again, if they start Taylor Heineke, which it looks like they're going to, then I think that, honestly, San Fran's going to win. Because right now, he can't score. And the San Francisco, like I said, really slow. The San Francisco, the 49ers. I mean, their defense is on fire. Nick Bosa might go out there and sack him 6 times.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it and saying right now, I don't understand how they're going to have any chance of winning if they don't score at least 24 points, because Brock Purdy's going to be out there throwing dimes left and right, and then I'm sure Deron Payne and John Allen are probably going to get in an argument again because they're getting pissed off because the offense can't score, and all they're doing is kicking ass everywhere. But you're looking at it and just saying I just don't see Washington winning if Taylor Heineke starts a game. And honestly, hey, here should be a side bet. The side bet should be: is Carson Wentz going to be shown in the game if they're down by double digits? Because that could be a good bet. Because that could be I mean, that's probably in like the dark web or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going to get the odds on that.
But honestly, I mean, when I was watching the game and Carson Wentz on the sideline was throwing zips. I mean, that guy was throwing zippers right to the wideouts while Taylor Heineke was floating it to the defensive backs in the end zone. So honestly, I don't know, man. I just think that San Fran's going to kick their butt. I mean, I'm just over it. Taylor Heineke starts. I think I'm going to take it.
I'm going to look at. I want to see if I can get some sacks here for San.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a while, by the way.
Yeah,
I've tried to bet on like total sacks, but I haven't seen it in half the games that I've bet on.
Total
like
touchdowns.
Forever.
Both teams to do this. Winning margin. Yeah, where's like? I mean, obviously, if I can't find it in the next couple seconds, I'm not going to keep searching for it. But yeah, I that's weird. I don't know why there isn't any turnover options or things like that here. Because, I mean, yeah, I would take like if they set the line at like 49ers 5.5 sacks in that game. It's like I'm going over that. It's like it's not not going well. So we'll see. But yeah, definitely. I agree with the pick there. I think, yeah, if Heineke starts this team, this is going to be rough. This is going to be a rough end of the year here, and I think you're going to get some loud fans who are upset at how, this team spoiled a really solid run where things were looking like this was going to be a good, a playoff opportunity here. So we'll keep an eye on it. Again, I will remind you, next week, people, we will be doing our Festivus show where we kind of get our airing of grievances in, if you recall.
Nothing. It's a card from my dad.
Dear son, happy Festivus? What is Festivus?
It's nothing. It's nothing.
When George was growing
Jerry,
up,
no.
his father hated all the commercial and religious aspects of Christmas,
Yeah.
so he made up his own holiday.
Oh.
out of here.
Happy Festivus.
What's Festivus?
When George was growing up, his father.
Nothing. It's nothing. It's a stupid holiday my father invented. It doesn't exist.
Happy Festivus, Georgie.
A new holiday was born.
That will be. We'll get into all that next week here. So if you guys have any
Drinks and grievances,
complaints, things that grind your gears, I mean, whatever you want to throw our way, feel free to tweet us at the DC Crossover or at Cerrone16 or comment on our TikToks, DC Crossover Podcast on TikTok.
We'll definitely look up though what kind of live we can do. I think TikTok should be fine.
Yeah. We just got to figure out how the heck we do it. I just know that I know for sure that we can live stream to YouTube because we've done that before off of because right now the only place it's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch are the main options with Zoom. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. But regardless, if we do any of that stuff, we'll tweet it out. So follow us on Twitter for that info there, and then share any of your grievances with us, and we'll talk about it on the program. Besides that, everybody, have a great Christmas. Obviously, that's coming up here in a few days, so have a great Christmas, holidays, all that good stuff. Let's play a little Christmas music to take us out. I was going to go to John Z, but
this is what we should do the entire episode next week.
We're going to. I have it on loop. So we will be doing this next week. We'll see you guys. Thanks. This has been another episode of the DC Crossover. Have a lovely Christmas.
Feliz Navidad.
There you go.